Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bikinis After Babies. I am one of your hosts, Mandy Rochon, here with your other host, IFBB Pro, Gillian Hughes.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We're excited for another episode. Today it's just us. We've got a great topic today that we're going to share with you. And for those of you that are still in prep, you like warriors, like going through the end of the season.
Go, you guys.
Go, you guys. You know, this is a really tough time to be in prep. I'm glad I'm not in prep right now. But we hope that this podcast finds you well, whether you're doing your cardio, grocery shopping, food prepping, whatever you're doing. And we thought we would just kind of start how we usually do with a little bit of an update. So, Mandy, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
Oh, man. Today I'm a little under the weather, but I'm making it through. I've been
You're
traveling.
rallying.
I'm rallying.
Yep.
I might have a few little coughing little fits, but no, no, everything in my neck of the woods has been really good. Obviously the weather is changing to be nice and chilly, which is great. Being able to like have the windows open and just like feel the holiday season approach us, right? But no, other than that, just kind of going to the gym. I've been working out at home a little bit more just because traffic on the way to the gym has been kind of bad. But it's nice because I do have a really good setup. Like I have really good weights, barbells, squat rack, boxing, just all sorts of stuff. So that's been kind of nice just to like wake up at home, spend some time with family and just like work out at home here and there. And then I'll just, I'll get stir crazy and then I'll go to the gym sometime.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, I expedited show a couple weeks ago. I went to Eureka Springs with some girlfriends this weekend, had some girly time, which was so needed.
It was a cute little town. It looked so cute. It was like a little Christmas village, it was so cute.
Yeah, I went to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, so it was 4 hours here from Kansas City. And my girlfriends, I always call them like my like non-Jimmy girlfriends. They work out, like do their own thing, but like we've all just been friends now for so many years and we're all so busy. We all do different things. So like we have been planning this trip for like 7 or 8 months, just a little weekend getaway. And so I like, of course I like to plan things. So I coordinated like, let's all vote on where we're staying. Let's vote where we're going. This is when we're doing this. So like it finally just came and it was good. We got to just walk around, go out to dinner and just like spend some girly time. And it's like no kids, no animals, no husbands. It's just like us hanging around. Even one of the nights after dinner, we even went back to the Verbo that we were staying at and watched a movie and just like had a glass of wine and like had like this cute little charcuterie plate and just chilled. It was great.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I love it. That's nice.
Yeah. What about you? How has your crafting been? I love your crafting project.
Thank you so much. The glue gun is getting a lot of use lately. Yeah, things are good. Just juggling like, the end of the season for our athletes and then lots of new athletes. Like we had a team meeting last night and not everybody was there. And there was like 23 people on our group call. It was so awesome. There's just like, been a lot more people excited about competing. And I'm really excited about that. So we've got 5 Momshell athletes competing this weekend in Kansas City. So I'm really excited about that. But before I leave, I got to load the house up with groceries and make sure everybody's good to go while I'm gone. And then Thanksgiving's next week. So I actually bought my turkey today. Because, I have in the past forgotten to thaw it and been like, well, I guess we're going to have a ham. Like, I can't
say, what do you do?
Yeah. So I started that today. I feel like I'm really on top of things this year. Like, I'm decorated. Like, all the pumpkins are away. We got the trees out. But I think because this trip is coming, like, if I had put everything off, I probably would have done it the day before. But because we have that coming. And the next week's real busy. I have, of course, we have the show come back. And then there's an event here in St. Louis called Guns and Hoses. And I think most people know this. My husband is a part-time police officer. And so we get to go and it's a boxing match between like the police officers and firefighters. And it's this big thing.
I
always
had no
happens.
idea.
Oh, you didn't know what it was? I was telling you what it was and
No,
without even explaining it.
Yeah, you told me you were going to it, but I literally thought it was like just some kind of concert, like I didn't know it was a boxing match.
Oh, like Guns and Hoses, like a band that like is like a knockoff of like Guns and Roses.
Yeah.
No, it's like guns, like police, and then hoses, like firefighters, and it's a boxing. thing. So, but I also like I watched like the Mike Tyson fight and then the like one that was before that with like the girls and her like
Yeah.
eyelid was like coming off and I'm like, ooh, like I'm going to like a whole night of fights, you know. Like my son's a wrestler, but it's a little bit different. Like it's not like being punched in the face. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping like these aren't professional like fighters. So I hope it's like more fun. So that's Thanksgiving Eve, but like not great because the next day I have to host our dinner and then I signed up for a turkey trot with my 16-year-old.
Those are
So
fun though.
I've done them
Like,
before, but like
yeah.
Brady's like, yo, mom, like some of these people, like some of the teachers are doing it. They're treating it like the Boston Marathon. Like we should train. I'm like, I don't like run. So I'm going
Well,
to be
and I feel
trotting.
like when I did it, the girls that like wanted me to sign up, they like I think I had trained. I wasn't in prep or anything, but like I worked out really like quite a bit. So to me, I'm like, well, I'm not a runner. I don't know how good I'll do. And my friends were like, well, we'll just walk because we don't run either. And me and one of my girlfriends actually like we ran it, like we jogged it, I should say.
Yeah.
But it was so cold outside that like I want to say we like jogged half of it and then we just like walked because we were talking and it was cold.
Yeah. I'm
But
like, if it's cold, I probably will run just to get it over with, you know?
yeah. It was fun though. We ran around the Chiefs Stadium here when we did.
Yeah, that's so
We did ours.
cool. This is just like in our area, so I don't think the scenery is going to be like anything. It's not like downtown St. Louis where there's a lot to see, but really just kind of, you know, get a bit of a calorie deficit before we have a big feast. And Brady, my son, is a wrestler, so like he's right now working to get down to a certain weight for his season, and it always happens that like Thanksgiving rolls around and he like can't indulge as much as he wants. So we kind of lined this up so that he could, you know, enjoy that day. And I manage a
Yeah.
lot of his nutrition and his weight cut because when he was doing it the first year, like he just wouldn't eat. He would like he didn't drink water. He didn't because he was like, oh, water weighs something. I'm like, oh my god, no, like, you know. And then he would get to his matches and he would feel terrible. So we have, you know, that's kind of all started as well, like trying to help him get his weight down in a like a very healthy way. So like the whole fridge is like just protein and, you know, so that's fun too. Like, you know, once we get him close to like his weight and in a good groove, then we, you know, I can manage his diet a little bit easier. It's just getting him there. Like today he's texting me from school, like, Mom, I just want a pepperoni pizza so bad. You know, he's 16, right? So this
Yeah.
is, you know, and he said like, Mom, this is so hard. Like, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, I feel like it's different because when you're prepping for what we do and you know, have a hard day and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry. Like I, you know, whatever. And then you push through the next day and then you see like a new line or like some definition popping out. It feels totally worth it. But when you're a 16-year-old kid, you're just kind of like, I don't care. Like, you know, it's
Yeah.
just the reward is not really there. Like I wanted to be like, just think about your match. Whereas like, he's probably like,
He's
I don't
like,
see
I'm
why I
over
can't do
it.
this at this weight, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's that. And then I will be going into prep early. I think early December. I guess it just like sort of depends. I did my whole like countdown. I have this little app in my phone that I do like countdowns. It's called like Dream
Yeah.
Days. But
think
it
you
tells
sent
me
me that.
yeah, and it tells me like how many days. I'll do it for like my athletes too. Like if we have a show coming up, because sometimes there's like 5 or 6 shows I'm prepping people for, and I'm like, how many weeks before this one? And then I don't want anyone to think like I don't know, because I've done that before. Where I'm like, we're 6 weeks out, and they're like, no, we're 4 weeks, and I'm like, oh shoot, we are. So yeah, so I did that for what I think will be my pro debut, and it scared me to see that it wasn't as big of a number, but I also don't think I need as long this time because just the
You
way my
stayed-
body responded. Which,
Well,
okay,
and
I
you
told you
st-
this that I wanted to apologize about
What?
something. Do you remember a couple weeks ago I said I wanted to apologize to our audience? Because I said on a podcast something like, oh, I've only gained X amount of pounds since my show.
Yeah.
And like, and I feel bad because that's not the experience I've always had. Like sometimes I just blink and I'm up 12 pounds. Or I've been really burnt out and my body just, you know, rebounded a little bit. And so I just don't want anybody listening to be like, oh, I suck. Like, you know, I did the same show around the same time and I've put on this much. Like, you know, I hate giving numbers really. I think it was just like kind of flew out of my mouth, kind of like you and I just talking. And I just didn't want anyone to feel like, you know, I was trying to set the standard for like an off season. Like every off season for me has been different. I wouldn't say I have, you know, any more mental fortitude this time than last time. It's just the way things went. I don't know if I'm just busier now too. And, just go, go, go. I don't know. It's just how it went for me. So, but I felt badly that I had like, I don't want
I
people
don't
to be like, oh, I suck and she's doing so great.
I don't think you need to apologize. I know what you're talking about, of course, because it was like a couple episodes ago. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Because I'm like right next to you in this podcast. We talk all the time, and I am way more above stage weight than I am. And I like, it doesn't matter. Everybody is just different. Like, and I say that because like, okay, when you won your pro card and you stepped off stage, and I think it was like you said it when you stepped off stage, but you also said it a couple weeks later, and you said it to be in privacy. I mean, you probably said it on here too, but it set a different tone, knowing that you were going into a whole new level of competition. It was completely different. It's going to be more mentally challenging because you are going back into the unknown where you haven't been in like 18 years or whatever it is. So like you took your reverse and your dieting, or I'm sorry, your improvement season diet, however you want to word it, you took it a lot differently. Like you handled it a lot differently. And also knowing that you were going to step on stage sooner next year than what you usually do also.
Yeah.
So I think mentally you're doing what's right for you. And so then, okay, compare me, for example. I have gone back and forth several times if I'm going to step on stage next year. And I've come to the conclusion with my family that like, I'm not going to. And I'm very happy with that. And I'm very like, my family and I have lots of stuff going on and we have lots of goals. But at the same time, like, so my weight is going to be higher than yours. Could it be lower if I wanted to stay closer to stage weight? Could I diet more? Could I control that? Yes, but I also know I'm not stepping on stage for a very long time. So like I'm not going to do that. So when you say that number for you, like people shouldn't really compare themselves because we also talk about that all the time. Like you're also 5 foot nothing. Like I like so like it's going to be different. And so it's just that's sweet of you to apologize, but at the same time, like I think you're just speaking to who you are, which is what people love, like speaking like we're honest.
Well, good. I'm glad it wasn't like taken that way. I just don't want anyone to like feel bad or like compare themselves. Also, like I'm really short, so like
you are tiny.
7 pounds on somebody short is real different than someone taller. And again, I've had off seasons where I gained a lot of weight quickly doing literally the same thing I'm doing now. Like I'm eating very intuitively. I have structure, but it's easy for me to kind of stick close to my diet. I have treats when I want. I don't feel deprived. And I definitely coming out of this prep, like that was the leanest I've ever been. And I worried, oh gosh, like what is this going to look like? And so I think maybe me stating the number was kind of like, yes, like I didn't, my health stayed
Your
intact
health was good.
because I mean, I was pushing really hard for a while there. I mean, I got shredded for my show in June and then I just kept on prepping for like another 7 weeks and being that lean for so long. And, so I'm just sort of like really grateful that like, my body is healthy and I never lost my period when I was going through that. So that I think helped as well, but I have in the past. So it's just, I think every scenario is differently, but I was listening to a podcast, a couple of girls that have one, and they're kind of all talking about their experience. And, there was a pro kind of like just talking about like, I hate when people say, how much they have or have not gained. Like it just makes people feel bad. And I'm like, oh man, I did that. Like, I hope nobody like felt bad. And I can totally see like how, it would be received that way. And that was definitely just like,
I feel like the tone matters a lot too.
Yeah,
like that's
true.
a big deal because you can sit here we go. Like here's a perfect example. How you said it like a couple episodes ago, the context you said it in wasn't like this. You could say it like, oh, I got my pro card and I'm still
You're right.
10 pounds by stage weight. It's like, you don't need to blow up to do that context, right? It's so like gut wrenching.
I hate it.
Like, it's so frustrating.
Makes
That's
me
why I
upset.
love, right? Like the context is just different. Like I've seen people blow up in off seasons and I've seen them win next season. I've seen people blow up and lose next season. I've seen people stay close to stage weight and they go back to next season or their next show and they look exactly the same and they place, worse. Like I've seen.
It's not the end of the world. It
It's not.
happens. And I don't want for anybody to ever feel like, oh, well, I just don't have what it takes because I gained too much after my show. I don't think there's a pro out there that could ever say that they didn't have a reverse that went bad. Like it happens. I think more people have to talk about it. I think more people are talking about it. And I mean, I've had to go through quite a few terrible reverses to learn really what works for my body and to know what to expect. It's like, I heard this the other day, just sort of like with kids, it's like, be careful, you're going to hit your head, you're going to hit your head, be careful. They do it anyways, they hit their head and then they learn, right? Same thing with like reverse dieting. Like, it's something that you have to kind of have been through the bad experience to kind of know and learn, and just, it's very normal to struggle. So I think if anything, I was like, just happy that, things were going well this time. And yeah, I think that there's somewhere along the lines, some person expert in the field was like, women should not gain more than X amount of pounds. And it was such a general term. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And people listening have heard it. And it's somebody, well respected in our industry. And I don't think this person has taken it back. And I think it was very not a great statement.
I'm trying to think if they've taken it back, because I know there's been a couple like circle back to that moment.
I'll tell you, I stopped listening when I heard that. So I wouldn't know if there was an apology, because I was like, I am done because this is terrible.
Oh,
like,
I don't think there's ever been an apology. No. I just
but not
mean,
a take back?
No, I don't think there's ever.
I just think it's wrong to I think it's okay. So I think it's important to have a goal, a reasonable goal. Okay. Like if let's say you are, you're overweight and your body fat percentage is high. You need to get healthy, and you get healthy and then you prep for a show. And your show weight is not like where you should be, but like where you started isn't where you should be either, because that wasn't like healthy. So like, what is that middle ground? What does that look like? I think having like a goal, and does it always have to be scale related? No, but like, should you have these huge big swings? In the grand scheme of things, it's mentally, that's really hard. So I think it's important to sort of have a reasonable target of like, this is kind of where I want to stay, and talking with a coach about like, how to like reasonably get back there, and but I don't think that there's one goal for everybody. Like everyone should only gain this much. Like
it's like putting everybody in the same box of this. If you're this height and this age, you go in this box, and this is what it should be.
Because that's what that did, was make people feel really shitty. Like if they were, 5'9" and they're trying to stay within 10 pounds of their stage weight because somebody said that was like the industry like goal. Like I just think it made people probably feel bad, and I don't like that. So
yeah,
I want people to feel good when they listen to us. So anyways, wow, we veered off topic. I'm so sorry.
Not really. We can segue from that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let me pull up the topic of the day, because it's a mouthful. Our topic today, as we approach 50 episodes, y'all, that is wild to me. Like, I just think it's amazing. We're going to have a big celebration episode. I don't know what we're going to do. But it's coming soon.
We've kind of gone back and forth with some ideas, but it's just around the corner. So
it is.
And like the whole year has been, it will hit us before we know it. Like this whole year has just flown by so much. Like when we were talking about the fact that this is about to be like our year anniversary of a podcast, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like
40. This is episode 47. Like, and I would say like it's a lot of work, but it's not like, I think because I love it so much that it hasn't felt like a labor of love, like some people say, you know, like it's fun. I really enjoy, I love the community. I love talking to you, and I love like the stuff we talk about. Like it's fun. So to get to 50 episodes, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I don't know.
And I find it like for both of us to do it together for so long too, because you're right. This is our passion, baby. It truly is. Like I love doing it. I love you. Like, but there is a but. It is time. We have to plan, and we have to check things. All this stuff. So it is like a project, but we love the project. But
and the fact that like technical issues and like issues with uploads and audio stuff. So like it's not like it's not been easy, but like I'm super proud of us. Like I think we missed a couple like. For like maybe the week we both competed, and then we were both on vacation at the same time, and then back to school. I think we only missed 3 weeks. The entire year.
It was funny. So my dad sometimes, he doesn't listen to like full episodes, but he'll like check in. So Dad, if you're listening to this episode, hello, and
hi,
watch.
Dad.
He will text me and be like, hello. Like I love my dad, but I was telling him that I was like, we've only like missed like an episode or two, and he's like giving me advice. I'm like, Dad, like I know, like we this is our baby. This is our, we didn't go to college for this. We didn't take classes on how to do this. We learn as we go. And so,
Yeah.
but he loves it. He loves
Oh,
it.
good. That's nice.
He's so
Thanks,
cute.
Mandy's dad.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, episode 47. Whew. Okay. How prep is different after babies and or as a master's athlete.
Yeah.
So that's our topic for the day, and really just sort of like contrasting, and maybe the topic and the answers that we give you will surprise you too. So if you're on the fence about competing and you're like, but I have kids, but I'm 40, maybe what we talk about today will be like, oh, okay, well, I can do this.
Yeah. So when Jillian and I, we talk about different topics to do all the time, we brainstorm and we throw, different ideas at each other. This was your idea, it kind of took me off guard for a minute because I was thinking about it. It like didn't hit me. For one, I've always prepped with a baby. So like I've never not prepped without a baby. So, but then when we were talking about the subject more, I'm like, oh, I can totally mentally relate to this. And here is one thing I want to start this out with. So social media, we're always on it. We see these great photos, these great mirror photos, a lot of selfies. I'm speaking really primarily to selfies. And you see the people that you look up to, or you might be competing against, because like we know that happens as soon as you see how many weeks out you are, and you're like running around with your kids and having to go to soccer practice, you're having to go to cheer, you're having to cook your husband breakfast, lunch, dinner because he works all the time, you're prepping your food, you're doing all this stuff, your house is always a mess. Well, let's say you're on social media and you see these other girls that are like the same weeks out than you, and let's say they're like 8-9 years younger than you. They don't have kids, they live with like their roommate, and their roommate helps them take photos, and they get to do cute fun stuff, and they get to go and do like random ice baths, and like they have cute recordings, and it's like they're happy and they're like, look at my muscles, I'm so great. And you think that negative talk is like, how can I compete with that? They have all the time to do all this self-recovery. They have all this time to do that. I barely get enough sleep. I barely can make it to the gym. I am telling you, if you start seeing that and doing that, get off social media. Like, get away, because just because you see girls that you may be going up against or girls that you may look up to, and they have a lot more free time or the ability to be able to do these things that you may not have this time or mental space for in your head because you have kids, because you have step kids. It doesn't, you have like a responsibilities of some type of parenting. Remember that your mental fortitude and your wherewithal, your tough skin far surpasses that. And they don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
It's incredible because you are spending the time to cook your food, take care of your family, run everybody around, organize the laundry. Like, oh my gosh, we all know how that is. We all know if Timmy has to be at soccer practice at 5:30, you're getting ready at 1:30 because his outfit has to be whatever color, and he has to have food, and then you got to have dinner, then you got to have your meals. So we all know if something's at 5:30, you're getting ready at 1. Okay. Just remember that prepares you and it makes you so much stronger. And then when you reach that stage, you have no idea who's going to win. You have no idea who's going to look better. And it's all just a matter of like doing your best at your, like the time that you're given. Like I see this a lot, and I know we hear it a lot, but like, just remember that like, that does not mean anything to the hard work that you're doing. So that is really like, I want to start that off by saying that because I see it all the time. All the time.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah. Like if you're watching like, somebody that's got like a vlog and, you're watch like these like routines that they have, and, they spend hours at the gym, and you're like, that when you have a family, like that it's not always realistic, but I'm not saying that doesn't mean it can still be done, like, I tell this to people all the time. Like when you start seeing results, you suddenly find time that you didn't know that you had. And also like if you're fueling your body properly, you're getting enough protein, you're prioritizing getting quality sleep, might not be able to get as much as, whoever who doesn't have kids. But if it's quality over quantity, and, and I think it all really works out. I think you find more time. I think you're more efficient with your time. And, I don't know that more is better. I just think more is more. Like,
yeah.
there are people that are at the gym forever training, and I think, okay, like past a certain point, if you really are training with that kind of intensity and you're there 2 hours, no, girl, come
Mm-hmm.
on. Like, that's, you're talking to so and so and you're being social, which is like wonderful. Hey, I did that too, like pre-kids. So you don't need to have that amount of time. And sure, it'd be great to get a massage and deep tissue and red light therapy and all those things, but like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like the nutrition and the training, and the time spent posing, like those are the three things that are going to really help you the most. So yeah, I think don't look at those things and go, oh, well, I can't because this. I think find somebody who's doing it that has what you have on your plate and realize
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, like this is someone I can relate to. Like I remember on my weight loss journey after I had my first child, I had to like get rid of a lot of the people that I idolized because I was like, I don't identify with these people anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a baby, I'm a nurse, like I don't, these people don't, we don't have the same schedule anymore. I can't look up to them because it's actually demotivating. And there was a fitness model who had two little boys, and I just sort of saw her schedule and her lifestyle and everything, and I was like, no, this is something that motivates and
Mm-hmm.
inspires me because this is more like what I have going on. So it just had to like pivot and shift a little bit. So I think, but again, if you have are seeing that stuff and it's not impacting you positively, then it really you just have to look away, honestly, because also to sort of piggyback off of that, like the comparison of like, oh, well, I have stretch marks, or I don't have a body like this girl or whatever. You also don't know that you don't have a body like that girl because there's a lot of
Yeah.
Photoshop that goes on, and it doesn't matter when you get on stage. Doesn't None of that matters, right? So
Yeah.
if it's not motivating and it's not positive and you find yourself comparing, I think you just have to look away. And I don't think that the comparison's any different as you get older. I think it's the same. Maybe it's worse. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't find that I compare myself any less than I did in my 20s, like now it's just a little bit more of like, instead of just like the beauty aspect of it, maybe just sort of like, oh, this person's aging really well, or this
Yeah.
person has a beautiful home, these sort of things that like you sort of catch yourself kind of going, ooh, like, it's just natural. I think everybody does it, but if you're doing it a lot, then just limit your time or mute people that you might love them and really find them inspiring, but if they're seeing them as a trigger and it's making you feel less than,
Mm-hmm.
it might just be time to mute.
Yeah. I feel like even being older, you still compare yourself to things. I will say the more shows I've gone to now and the more seminars, the more expos, the more people like in person I have seen or learned, competed against, whatever the case may be. I'm very much more like they don't look like that in real life or they don't pose like that or that. So like person to person, I think like as you mature into the master's division, you get that type of maturity, but that came with age and it came with experience because I feel like being like a master's, the next thing I know we can kind of talk about is like as far as like your skin and your muscle density and muscle maturity. Excuse me again, little scratchy throat. Muscle maturity. As you get older, we're really cautious about our skin and our tightness of our skin around like our muscles, and so that can kind of sometimes play on us again when you think like that and you get hyper focused on things like that, like, oh, her skin is just tighter. And when I say that, I just mean like think about like your delts and you have like you can really see like I'm speaking on photos. Like you can see striations or you can see veins or you can see lines. It's like, well, I don't have that. That necessarily doesn't matter. Like when you get into that tan and the suit and the lighting, all of that is going to look different on stage just because 2 weeks before Susie who's 22 and whoever like Becky who's like 44 are going up against each other against an open division because they're the same height and like whatever name I just said, Susie. I don't know. The 22-year-old, I just totally forgot. The 22-year-old looks really, really tight and lean and all the things, and you're starting to beat yourself up. Well, when you guys are on stage together, she may not look like that. Like that may
Yeah.
not be her look at all. Like when we see that kind of stuff on Instagram and social media, we don't think about, okay, well, they don't look like that on stage. Like they don't. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you beat her because you look leaner or your muscle your muscle density is like you're more poppier than
And
she
you're
is,
more
like
symmetrical, and you're
more
more like of
symmetrical.
a complete athlete. You have more of the total package. Like, just because somebody does the whole like pulling the boobs up and the ab
Oh yeah.
selfie, like that's great, but that's not the only thing the judges are looking at. Like, I'll get that all the time from like, oh, I saw so and so and she's so ripped. I'm like, okay, like, well, that's great. Like, it is cool. Like, certainly when you're ripped and you want to take those pictures, that's great. But like, it doesn't mean she won the show. We're not even there yet. Don't compare yourself, and that's not like the only criteria. Also, like, they don't want you too ripped. So,
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, I think the skin thing of, just it, and it just depends, I think, too, on like genetics, but also your lifestyle. Like, if you've always taken care of yourself, then you're probably going to have, your skin is going to have aged nicely, right? If you get into it later, like, I still think, there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of things that you can do to, build muscle and improve your health and try to, repair skin integrity. But some of that's just genetic too. So, but I also think like, building a sufficient amount of muscle helps that
Mm-hmm.
skin tighten up, good diet, certain supplements, taking really good care of your skin, all that stuff can help too. So I think that is one thing that sometimes people do worry about. But I mean, I've seen people that are very young that have loose skin
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, puberty is not friendly to everybody. Sometimes people end up with stretch marks everywhere after puberty. So, I think the main overarching theme is like, let's not focus on what we don't have and focus on what we do have.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this all the time, it's not body built, it's bodybuilding. So,
Mm-hmm.
just keep building and keep like, okay, this is my season. I'm going to focus on this and compete. Okay, the judges want to see this. Okay, let's go away and build up my glutes so that my skin on my backside's a little bit tighter and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's just, and that I've seen plenty of people in my age group that their skin is so youthful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing, and I'm always envious, but it's also, not the only thing the judges are looking at. So
Yeah. Well, and I've learned that personally myself. Like, it wasn't until I took the time off, built some muscle, so my shoulders look great. Like, I've never been dinged for like my upper body or anything, but I mean, I was when I needed more muscle, but now it was more about conditioning. But I learned myself, again, just being experienced, like my looser skin is definitely more in my legs. And that's because when I was pregnant, I was over 200 pounds. And then, of course, that was, so many years ago, but that still like is my skin. It's my body, right? But so my legs need more muscle, like not just my hamstrings, not my glutes, but my legs, because I have looser skin. So I know I need to build up my quads. So whenever I return back to stage, like I need to pay attention to all of my legs, not just like my hamstrings and my tie-ins and my glutes, but I need to pay attention to my quads. I need to pay attention to certain parts of my glutes, like things like that, because I do have looser skin. So again, the thing with the sport is like, if I were to say that to like my mother-in-law, God, I love her to death, I do, but if I were to say that to her, I feel like she would smack me. She would be like, you're ridiculous, go eat some cookies, like, because like this is a sport.
yeah.
I take judges feedback, I follow my coaches. Like, this is no different than if I were like trying to play basketball and like I needed to work on like my jump. Well, then I'd be working on my jump. It's the same thing. I have loose skin, I need to work on something in my legs, like I need to work on my quads. It's just because it's our body that like people will take it so personally. And
Right.
it's not, it's a sport.
And it's a
So
sport that takes time, and the beauty is the more time you invest, the better you get.
mm-hmm.
Our newest Miss Olympia has been doing this for 10 years. She is not new. So let's all think about this, right? When we see her physique, and, oh my God, I want glutes like Laura Lee, and oh my God, she looks so great, blah, blah, blah. 10 years. So
And a lot of judges feedback on top of
a
that,
lot
a
of
lot of
experience.
it.
She wasn't Miss Olympia year one, right? So keep that in mind and just use that as sort of like the exciting part of the sport. Like, it just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. And all of the things that you learn and the way you take care of your body, like that is what keeps you youthful. And there's a lot of like wonderful things that come out of it. So, but I think that's another thing that people do often say is they just start to compare themselves to people who've been doing it longer, or maybe they got a younger start. Like I hear all the time, like, oh, I wish I started this in my 20s. And it's like, well, yeah, but like you wouldn't want to undo like everything you experienced in your life because of bodybuilding, right? Like life is just, it's life. And here you are, right? So, but I think it's also important to be realistic. Like what we're talking about is spending more time makes it better. You can't try to make up for 15 years in one season, but also just be patient and continue to be a part of it and learn and grow and come back and improve and all those things. Because I do hear that all the time, like, oh, I want to look like so-and-so. And it's like, well, they've been doing this for however many years, right? Or maybe they've only been competing for 2 years, but prior to that, they were in the military and they,
Or power lifters.
They're power lifters. They were collegiate level track runner. All that stuff matters, But that's not to say that you get started at 40 with no athletic background, that there isn't a pro card for you, because there is. So if you keep at it and you keep building and you keep learning everything, if that's your dream, don't give up.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing this before kids. Like, I can't. Granted, I mean, I had my son pretty young, but still, like, the idea of, like, the mental dedication and discipline and how many times we have to say no, because that was my biggest struggle, was, like, I have to say no to going out or no to going to the pool or no, all those things. It's like, there was no way. I didn't get a voice until I got older. So, like, that's another thing. You look at women before kids, most of the time, I will say most of the time, their circle of friends and their like if they're in college, their study buddies, friends they go out with, friends from high school, the likelihood that all of those people that you socialize with are going to support your new sport and new hobby to hopefully someday be a lot of times people do kind of hope this is some type of career, so the likelihood of all of them supporting you, I mean, that's a hard no. Yeah.
That's a lot of challenge.
Right? Yeah. Now, I'm in my 30s, and my entire circle of friends, my entire circle of business partners I have to speak with outside of fitness, neighbors, like, they all are like, you're fantastic. You're amazing. Like, I don't know how you do it. Go you. Yeah. But when I tell you, rewind time, and the people prior to that, even when I did have a kid and I learned they weren't good friends, like you're going to struggle with that. You're going to struggle with it sometimes too when you're older, but the likelihood of having nobody support you when you're younger is greater, because a lot of times people are still partying. People are still kind of going through a normal selfish phase, trying to figure themselves out. And for them to be like, oh, you're going to take all this time for yourself. We're not going to hang out anymore. You can't stay out anymore. You have to get proper sleep. They're going to be, like, well, like, F you. I don't want to do that. And you're not going to get phone calls to go out. You're not going to get invited to things. You're going to be, blacklisted, basically. And so you have to accept that. When you're younger, that's hard. Like, that is a hard pill to swallow. And you're going to choose going to the gym and eating out of Tupperware for that. Like, it's hard.
It's lonely. So, like, that's what I kind of think about. Like, we always talk about how, like, prep can be lonely sometimes, but I'm not lonely. I got a house full of kids. Yeah. There's, like, always people around me, like, and really it allows me to, like, spend very little time thinking about myself, my stuff, my prep, all that. But it's a good thing. I think, being, like, in my college days and trying to, like, be successful on a prep, and at the social calendar is so different. Like right now, social calendar is like, we got this practice and we got this tournament, and it doesn't revolve around like nights out or like all this stuff going on. So it's different. It's busy in a different way. So I think that is sort of, I don't say disadvantage, but that would be challenging. And certainly if you're like you're young and you've got like your boyfriend's a gym guy and you like do the gym thing and like you both don't drink, like then that's like wonderful. But dating, and you're dating in your older years too. Like it's not like you're only dating when you're younger. It's challenging, both ways. But I think you're probably more likely to align with people when you're older that also have kids and are maybe more conservative with their drinking habits versus like, dating in your 20s and, the person that you're going on dates with is like, wanting to go out and drink and stuff. So, I think, and I'm being super general, but I just think that's an advantage I always say I'm too busy to think about food. That's
Yeah.
how I stay on my diet with 5 kids. So, but yeah, I think it kind of piggyback on that too is like the maturity that comes with getting a little bit older. Like you have enough life experience to know that things that used to really stress me out and cause me to like have a full come apart when I was younger are not like, they're not as big of a deal now. It's like, it's fine, it's not the biggest crisis I've endured. I'm 44. A
Yeah.
lot of shit's happened in my life. But like, I think when you're younger, it's like, oh my God, my dog has fleas. I'm going to be late to the gym and I missed a meal and like you just,
Yeah.
because you're young and you're just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Because at that point, maybe it is. And again, being super general, so don't come for me. But I think just the maturity of getting older and, maybe certain things you kind of let go. And I don't know. Would you like to contribute to that point?
Yeah. Well, I think back to like my first prep, like my very first prep, and being so unknown, and Carson was so little, so it was very it's just very like I had a kid, I had to like obviously raise him, go through all the things. It was a little easier. I will say, as they get into activities with school and sports, and you have to mingle with all these different people and like volunteer, help out with things, all sorts of stuff, it kind of, you're like you said, you're just so busy. But I remember, I was thinking, because you said, if you drop your food or forget your food. I remember one time I was at a soccer game and he was younger, and I think it was, I dropped my rice, I think is what it was. And I was like devastated. I was just so upset. Of course, it's already measured, all of that kind of stuff. But now it's so funny because there's times where like Carson will like want to stay up or want to do things, and I'm in prep and this like year, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just move my food around, or oh, I just won't eat this right now, I'll eat it later. And you're just so much more calmer because it's like everything will be okay. I actually, like, I've talked to Aaron about that, like when we have to go places and we have to drive kind of far and whatever, and I have some food but not all my food, and he's just kind of like, he's like just asking about like, because he will stop and eat somewhere, and I'll be like, honestly, worst case scenario, like if something were to happen, I can just run into a Walmart and grab some like rice cakes, like it's doable if you allow your brain to kind of relax and think. But if you're younger, everything, you said the vlogs. I don't know how many vlogs of perfect people I've watched of just trying to like, kind of like, you learn, they have clickbait, titles.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you go to watch, and I'll make it maybe a few minutes, and I'm just so over it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I don't have like $1,000+ camera lighting to follow me around to care the time it takes to think about recording all that, speaking, editing. It's so intense. And like you want to work out like that, you want to eat like that, you want to do that, but in reality you're talking about one person that pays like probably a 1-bedroom apartment rent and has a whatever job in the evening that like pays for everything. Like, you just don't, like, the maturity that comes with like, this is like juggling all this time, and then when you're on stage and you're backstage, it's so worth it. And I have gym girlies that I'm friends with, and they're in their 20s and they're fun. They'll actually be competing at this show in Kansas City, but they're so sweet because they take it very serious. And so they're like, I don't know how you do it with all the stuff you do. I'm like, man, I don't know how I do it with all the stuff I do either, but somehow I do it.
You'll figure it out too when you get there,
We talk, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the mental fortitude and like scheduling that you just do to get things done is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think, just sort of thinking ahead and time management, and like people always ask me if I would do a vlog because they just want to see what it's like. And I'm like, I don't have time. Like, and
Yeah.
it's not glamorous. Like there's a little stinky bowl next to me of lunch that I just finished like right before we did this. Like, it isn't always fancy. It's probably not sexy enough to put on a vlog. My dishes don't match and my kitchen's not clean, and, I'm not perfect all the time, but, I'll just say that like, it's so rewarding to be doing this as a family because it's just another challenge. And it's something I've said to you before, like, prep, I don't feel like, I wouldn't consider it like an escape, but it like remains the thing that's just mine and something that I'm working towards as like a goal. And it doesn't have to be prep. Like, some people have like, career goals, certain goals, like, in the relationship or in, projects that they're working on. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but for me, there isn't anything else that I'm as passionate about. So prep is it, right? And it's like, it is the thing that I really miss when I get like sort of in the thick of everything with all the activities and everybody else's stuff, and you sort of just get to be like, what about me? And then when I'm like, well, my time in the gym and my countdown for the show and that special weekend when I get to go away and do this thing, like that sort of like fulfills that piece for me so that I can be fully present and feel fulfilled in my role as a mom. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Okay, let me look at the list, see what else we wanted to cover. Muscle
There,
maturity, I think, is a big one to really stress as well, and how that impacts us and works towards us as like mature masters competitors, just having more muscle maturity, which I think as when you're younger, the hormone profile is a little bit different in your more fertile years. As you get a little bit older and you're not having these like, wicked PMS symptoms and all these like surges of estrogen, progesterone, like that stuff kind of slows down as you get older. And if you stay on top of your health and, really keep track of all your hormones and keep all that stuff, in line, it actually can work towards you to be a little bit older. I've found at least, and prepping people too. I've kind of noticed that as well. What do you think about that?
so I'm kind of thinking of it as more like as a comparison too, because like when I've leaned out for shows, especially this year, like I had quite a few women of all different ages like compare themselves to me in a conversation. Like this is just in conversations terms, as much as I traveled and met with people this year, and it's just like they like again I'll use like my shoulders, and I've always had a pretty good like defining abs whenever I lean out, and it's just like I didn't have that before. So I'm 35 and I'm just now having a lot of veins, a lot of definition when I lean out, like up my abs, down like your arms. So but if you think about it, I've also been training, I've been lifting weights for so many years.
Yeah.
So many years. And I started lifting in my 20s. Did I lift super heavy? No, but I did lift. And then I started lifting super heavy later. But like I started growing that muscle and I started stimulating my muscles at that time. No matter if you are young and you're comparing yourself again to somebody that's even slightly like even if they're older than you don't know how long they have been working out and working on their muscles. Like you have no idea. So to be like 22 and compare yourselves to a 35-year-old and be like, oh my God, I could never look like that. It's like, no, you just haven't been lifting that long. So that's kind of like where I'm thinking about it. Cause I think I had that quite a bit this year of like, I've had girls like come up to me and be like, oh, I don't want to compete against you. It's like, no, you don't know what it's going to look like on stage, back to kind of that topic. But like, you also don't know like how long, like you have been training and the longevity of like your muscles, like and how much you are pushing them. And then before you know it, after so many, maybe a year, you don't know, everybody's body's genetically different, then you could have that too. Or you could be better than it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's true. Like I feel like the last like 4 or 5 years competing, like I'm so veiny. And I'm like, I never used to be like this.
Yeah.
I was younger. My skin was thicker. I didn't have as much muscle maturity as I do now. I've been taking this very seriously, for the past 4 years, but competing for almost 20. So, been at it a really long time. So like all those factors lead to that. Also, veins don't win shows. They're just kind of cool. I think they're kind of gnarly, actually. Like sometimes you're like, I don't really want a shoulder vein when I'm at the grocery store and everyone's staring at me. But it's also like just, again, it's an individual factor. You do see some younger people that have veins everywhere, and I think it's just it has a lot to do just with like how our bodies change. But I mean, I've had people like kind of just like young girls kind of just be like count out the masters, like just because I guess in their inexperienced mind, just sort of thinking like, well, that's going to be different, right? And then just kind of being like blown away by the quality of the masters athletes, and I'm just kind of like, well, yeah, like. It's that it's becoming something that I think is more mainstream in fitness, and because everybody's getting older, like all of these athletes are they're staying in the sport, they're competing, they're turning 40, like Angelica just turned 40, and it just does not always matter in this sport.
Yeah, that, and again it kind of goes back to mindset, because you have more patience. You have more time to be like, patience and health. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody can train and it be unhealthy. it can be. Like, you can be a natural competitor, run yourself into the ground, and it be unhealthy. I feel like as we get older, we look at this sport of like, oh, you might get to kind of eat more organized and make sure I eat properly, and then I start to feel better. I lose inflammation. You're telling me this one sport that I just kind of like put, my heart into, like, will make me healthier. Like, you learn so much about yourself, and I feel like if you're younger, you don't really think like that. It's more about your like physical appearance. But as older women, we're like, oh, wait a minute, like, we can really like take care of our skin, take care of our hair. We can eat the proper amount of protein. We can lose the pain in our knee joints because we're taking weight off it. We can lose, it just keeps going. Like, it just does.
Yeah.
But we're more educated in the health side of it. And with that, I feel like that's also creating longevity for Masters girls, because we're like, oh, well, we'll just like take an off season. What do you mean, spend time with our family at Disney World? Sure, I'll come back the year after. Because like time, we know how fast time moves. So to us, it's like, oh, I'm not going to compete next year. Totally fine. 26, 27, sure. Like, it's different. And then we just take our time. We do other things that we need to work on, and then we just come back. And we know that. Whereas if you're younger and you tell a 23-year-old they have to take a year off, oh my God, they will lose their mind. Like, they don't know what to do with themselves. So, but that window of time gives us time to build muscle. Whereas if you're younger and you don't want to give yourself that time, it's going to be a lot harder for you to bring the package that you should bring to stage.
I think it is harder when you're younger to think about taking a year off. Like, and I've had girls that I coach that do it, and I always say like, this is incredible, this is going to help you so much. But it is hard because it's like, this is something they love, and they really like have identified in that role of like, they're a competitor, and they've surrounded themselves with other gym people that are competing. They get a little FOMO, and they don't feel like they're a part of it without competing. I could totally understand that. But I think just for us, again, it's like we have all this other stuff going on that it's kind of like, okay, like I do so many things, like this is a small piece of who I am, and I'm okay with, taking that time away. It doesn't really like I'm still mom, and, I'm still have all the other things. So yeah, I think
feel like
that
that's
impacts
key.
that. Yeah.
Like, I feel like the self, like identifying yourself. Cause I know like when I was younger, I struggled with that. Cause like, so many people associate like the gym with you, because like you go to the gym, you post at the gym, you're always at the gym. Like, that is like, it becomes like your identity. And so sometimes we get lost in that identity. I feel like this is way more leaning towards mental health, but we get lost in that.
You're right though. Yeah.
Yeah. We get lost in that avenue, because then all of a sudden we stop, and then our coach, our judges, we have to take time off, we have to build muscle, and you start to question like, who are you outside of the gym? And I know when I touched on, more in depth about me on my previous podcast, on the previous episodes, like, who are you and who do you want to be, and how does the gym make that like a part of you, but also it's not like the largest being, you're a mom, maybe you have a career, maybe you have a really heavy religious like faith that you can give yourself to, like your church, or like things like that, like, or entrepreneurial career that you also like to do, like you can do other things, and like you can come back to the stage, or take the time off and come back, and just like,
it's weird to think about like something you love so much, but being successful means you have to not do it for a little while.
I know. You still like, go to the gym, but it's just not like your identity.
Competing. Yeah. That's a hard pill to swallow for some people when they're just like, wait a minute, I can't just like diet and prep and just keep going and get better and like get more trophies. It's like, no, actually, this is something that we don't really get to do as much as you think, So, and yeah, maybe that's a little bit easier as you're older. Again, like, we're being super general, but like, I think just that's been my experience as a Masters athlete. So, so we just really want to be encouraging. Like, age is not a disadvantage when you come to this sport. I want to show that it is actually a big advantage. There's so many advantages. So, we're all going to get older, right?
Yeah.
We can't fight it.
Yeah, to the person that said I look 20, thank you, by the way.
Oh my gosh, the other day I was watching a movie with my husband, and an actress, Heather Graham. Do you remember Heather Graham? She was in Boogie Nights. She's a babe.
Oh,
You're probably
I know, yeah.
So
I can't picture it.
She's like a mom in this Christmas movie that we were watching, and I'm like, Brian, how old do you think she is? And he's like, oh, I don't know, like maybe she's 44. And I'm like, she's 44. I'm 44. You think Heather Graham's 44? We like low-key almost got to fight. She's 58. I'm like, Okay, she looks good.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like, give her like a compliment, like she's like early 50s or something. And he was like, yeah, she looks 44. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. Age is really just a number, and how you take care
It
of yourself
is.
is how you look.
It is. Like
it
people
really,
will be
really
like,
is.
oh, I didn't realize you were 44. I thought you were like 41. I'm like, you're not giving me a big compliment right now. Or they'll give me like something ridiculous, like, oh, you didn't look a day over 25. I'm like, stop. No one
Yeah.
believes you.
Yeah.
It's funny. Anyways, we're all going to get there. You're all going to be my age one day.
But see, I don't know. I look forward to aging, I guess, just because I've enjoyed aging. Like,
Yeah.
I look back to my 20 self and I'm like, do you know what's crazy is like, and then what's crazy about that is like, I even have a different name. And I didn't even notice that till someone pointed that out. Because like, I went by Amanda for a while, and then my
Oh, that
maiden
was me.
name. No, you said that last night. But I mean, before that, I noticed that my name, like I would go by Amanda in school, and then obviously my maiden name before I was married was Gilman, if any of you guys didn't know that.
Oh.
But so I've been married now for freaking 8-9 years, and then I go by Mandy now, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't look like I did in high school or any school age.
Just changed your name.
And then I changed my name for the past like so many years, and I'm like, it's crazy. I didn't even mean to do that.
50 Shades of Mandy. All the different names and identities.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope that any of this helps you guys in your journey, and always feel free to reach out to Gillian or myself. Of course, we have lifestyle coaching and competition coaching. I know the season is kind of slowly wrapping up, few more shows left, but it's never too late to start prep for next year, start building, start dreaming, and we can help you through all
For
of it.
any bikini, for a blinged out bikini, for a beach bikini, for a tankini, we're here for you. So we love to help. We love to answer questions, and we've got spots on our rosters that we can provide coaching if that's what you're looking for. So just drop us a message.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in.